Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be looking at a chapter that really got me thinking
Mm,
about living life to the fullest.
okay.
And, especially as we kind of get a little further down the road,
Right.
um, have you ever thought about
Mm,
what your secret is for a fulfilling life?
like a secret sauce.
Yeah, like those moments where you just feel like you're in the zone and
Yeah.
you're aligned with
Yeah.
what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
That's what this chapter is all about, and I'm really excited to kind of unpack this with you.
Yeah, this chapter is really interesting because it doesn't just paint this picture of, like the golden years.
Right.
It really tackles the real challenges and opportunities that come with aging
Yeah.
and offers some really practical advice on how to make the most of this stage of life.
And I like how they really get into those kind of tough questions
Yeah.
about like finding purpose when your roles and responsibilities are shifting and cultivating those relationships that really feed your soul
Right.
and, planning for the future in a way that aligns with your values.
It's all about intentionality, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And they start by telling this story about Pastor Charles Price,
Oh, yeah.
who kind of had a wake-up call
Okay.
after a heart attack.
Right.
And his cardiologist gives him this advice that's so simple,
Mm-hmm.
but so profound.
Okay.
Look for what energizes you,
I love that.
right? And it's almost like a permission slip to
Yes.
prioritize the things that truly light you up,
Totally. Yeah.
even if they seem kind of unconventional
Yeah.
or unexpected.
Yeah. And that ties in with the chapter's emphasis on purpose and vision.
Yeah.
They introduce this four-circle Venn diagram as
Yeah.
a kind of visual guide to living life to the fullest.
I like that.
And these circles represent purpose and vision,
Aha.
talents and strengths, people and relationships and plans and activities.
Like a recipe.
It is. It's a recipe for a fulfilling life.
Yeah. And what I really connected with was the author's own experience with rediscovering purpose.
Okay.
He talks about being unexpectedly fired at age 58.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Especially later in your career.
That's a huge shift.
Yeah, it is. And it's something that a lot of people experience,
Yeah.
whether it's a job loss or
Health challenge.
a health challenge
Right.
or just some big transition that makes you reevaluate your priorities.
For sure.
And it's really interesting how he ties this experience to this theological concept of creation being good because it's fit for purpose.
Oh, interesting.
He's saying that like everything in creation, we also have a unique purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And when we live that out, it contributes to something bigger than ourselves.
Like we each have a role to play.
Yeah, like a special role
Yeah.
in this grand scheme of things.
That's a powerful thought.
It is. And it reminds me of the Church Catechism statement.
Okay.
The chief end of man is to glorify God and enjoy him forever.
Yeah.
And he kind of suggests that our purpose is ultimately tied to something bigger than us.
Right. Something transcendent.
Yeah. And the chapter goes on to highlight specific verses that kind of show us
Okay.
how we can actually live out this purpose
Yeah.
in our everyday lives.
In practical ways.
Yeah. Things like acting justly, loving mercy, walking humbly with God,
Hmm.
loving our neighbors as ourselves,
Right.
putting our whole heart into everything we do.
These are timeless principles.
They are. And what I really thought was interesting, too, is how they talked about vision beyond security.
Okay.
So the author shares how right when he was kind of getting back on his feet after this job loss,
Mm-hmm.
he has this major health crisis.
Oh, wow.
So he's dealing with all this uncertainty.
Yeah.
And during this time, he finds comfort and direction in certain Bible verses
Okay.
that remind him that God is faithful
Mm-hmm.
even when things are tough.
It's like those verses became an anchor
Yeah, like
to hold on to during the storm.
I think a lot of us can relate to needing something to hold on to when things get rough.
Definitely. And what's so important about that is that it really highlights that a fulfilling life
Yeah.
isn't just about money or outward success.
Right.
It's about aligning your vision with a deeper purpose,
Mm-hmm.
something that goes beyond your immediate circumstances.
Yeah, they even quote Rick Warren's The Purpose-Driven Life,
Oh, yeah.
which talks about the importance of vision.
To move beyond just existing and actually start living.
Yeah, it's like having that compass
Yeah,
to point you in the right direction, even when the path ahead isn't clear.
absolutely.
So I want to ask you, what are some steps that you can take today to clarify your own vision
Wow.
for a fulfilling life?
That's a great question.
What energizes you? What makes you feel most alive?
Yeah, what gets you up in the morning?
Exactly. Maybe take some time to think about those questions or even jot down some thoughts.
Yeah.
Remember, it's never too late to start aligning your life with your deepest aspirations. All right, so now let's shift gears a little bit and talk about something I think we all love to explore,
Okay,
our talents and strengths.
I'm in.
Right.
Who doesn't love that?
Who doesn't get a little excited
Uh,
about discovering what makes them uniquely gifted?
Absolutely.
And the chapter uses this great analogy to kick off this whole conversation.
Okay.
And it's the global phenomenon of Britain's Got Talent,
I love that show.
right? We've all seen those amazing displays of talent, from singers and dancers to magicians to comedians.
It's incredible.
It reminds us that there's this incredible diversity of gifts out there,
Yeah.
just waiting to be discovered and shared with the world.
For sure.
But then they go beyond just showcasing talent,
Okay.
and they ask, what are your unique talents?
Mm-hmm.
And how do those talents differ from strengths?
Oh, that's a great distinction.
That's where things get really interesting.
Yeah, this chapter dives into this really cool idea that talents are kind of like raw materials, while strengths are what you develop when you refine and apply those talents through knowledge, skill, and experience.
Like taking a lump of clay and molding it into a beautiful sculpture.
I love that analogy.
Right. You need both the raw material and the skill to shape it into something truly amazing.
Exactly. They call it the strengths formula.
Okay.
And it's such a powerful concept because it shifts our perspective from simply identifying our talents to actually developing them into something extraordinary.
But it's not enough to just know what you're good at.
Right.
You have to actually put in the work
Yeah, you got to hone those skills.
to develop those talents into strengths.
Yeah, and they give a really relatable example. Learning to drive a car.
Oh, yeah.
So think about it.
Okay.
You might have a natural knack for spatial awareness and coordination,
Okay.
which could be considered a talent when it comes to driving.
Sure.
But that alone doesn't make you a skilled driver.
Right.
You need to learn the rules of the road practice, handling the car,
Right.
and gain experience driving in different conditions. That's how your natural talent turns into a true strength.
It's like anything in life.
Yeah.
Whether it's playing an instrument, learning a new language, or even building strong relationships, it takes more than just talent.
It takes dedication, effort,
You got to put in the work.
a willingness to learn and grow.
And research actually backs this up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the chapter mentions studies from the Gallup organization
Okay.
that found that people who use their strengths every day
Mm-hmm.
are 3 times more likely to say they have an excellent quality of life.
That makes sense.
When you think about it, when you're doing things that allow you to use your strengths,
Yeah,
you feel more energized, more fulfilled, more capable.
totally.
But here's the thing. Their research also showed that only 17% of people actually use their strengths in their daily lives.
Oh, wow. That's a low number.
That's a really low number.
It makes you wonder why so many of us are walking around with these incredible gifts,
Yeah.
but not fully utilizing them.
It's like we're blind to our own potential.
Right. And that's where self-awareness comes in.
Okay.
They quote Peter Drucker,
Oh,
the famous management consultant, who said, "Most people do not know their strengths, and the majority of those who think they do are often wrong."
so how do we even begin to uncover our strengths if we're often so clueless about them?
Yeah, it's like searching for a needle in a haystack.
It is.
That's where tools like the StrengthsFinder 2.0 assessment come in.
I've heard of that.
It's designed to help you pinpoint your unique strength
Okay.
based on your patterns of thought, feeling, and behavior.
Interesting.
It's not about labeling yourself, but about gaining deeper self-awareness.
I've heard that StrengthsFinder is used by a lot of companies
Is.
and organizations to help people understand their strengths and how to use them more effectively.
Yeah. It's a powerful tool, and it's based on decades of research
Wow.
into what makes people thrive.
Okay.
They've identified 34 core strength themes
Okay.
that cover a wide range of human abilities and talents.
It sounds like there's a strength theme for every personality type.
There really is.
Can you give me some examples of these strength themes?
Absolutely. So there's achiever,
Okay.
which describes people who are very driven and accomplishment-oriented.
I know a few of those.
Then there's relator,
Okay.
which describes people who are really passionate about building strong relationships, connecting with others on a meaningful level.
Yeah.
And then there's strategic,
Okay.
which describes people who are great at seeing patterns and possibilities, always thinking a few steps ahead.
Like a chess player.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So there's a strength theme for everyone.
Okay, so let's say you've identified your top strengths. Maybe using a tool like StrengthsFinder.
Yeah,
What's the next step?
good question.
How do you actually start putting those strengths into action?
Well, that's where the chapter's emphasis on stewardship comes in.
Okay.
They talk about the biblical parables of the talents and the minas,
I remember those.
which are all about taking what we've been given and multiplying it. Right? It's not about hoarding our talents, but about investing them wisely.
It's like taking that raw talent, that lump of clay,
Yeah,
and shaping it into something beautiful and useful.
absolutely.
So they're challenging us to ask ourselves,
Mhm.
are we using our talents to make a positive impact?
Right.
Are we maximizing our potential for a greater purpose?
Yeah. Are we making a difference?
And they even introduced this concept of maximum impact for God,
Oh, wow.
or MIFG, which
Mhm.
is all about using our talents and strengths
Mm,
to make a difference that aligns with our values.
that's powerful.
Yeah. And they share some inspiring stories
Okay.
about people who are actually living out this principle.
Oh, cool.
One story that stood out to me was about Dr. Arnold Cook,
Okay.
who was a missionary leader who dedicated his life to serving others.
That's amazing.
He really embodies this idea of MIFG.
Yeah. Using your strengths for a greater purpose.
But then they also present a contrasting story
Okay.
about Joe, a retired entrepreneur,
Mhm.
who seems content to just spend his days on the golf course.
Okay.
So it makes you think,
It does.
are we maximizing our impact?
Yeah.
Or are we letting our potential go to waste?
It's a good question to ask ourselves.
It is. So as we wrap up this first part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I want to leave you with a challenge.
All right. I'm ready.
Think about one talent you have that you could start developing into a strength this week.
Hmm.
What small step can you take to move in that direction?
Yeah. What's one action step?
Remember, it's never too late to start unleashing your potential
Right.
and making a positive impact on the world.
I love that. It's funny how we can be so focused on our own talents and dreams that we sometimes forget about the people around us.
Right.
This chapter reminds us how important relationships are.
For sure. And they start by introducing us to Pastor Joe Workman,
Oh, yeah.
whose journey was really shaped by the relationships in his life.
Okay, both the good and the bad.
Yeah, the incredibly supportive ones.
Yeah.
And the ones that were honestly kind of draining.
It's true, relationships can be a double-edged sword.
Yeah, they can lift you up, but they can also weigh you down.
For sure.
And they use Joe's story to introduce this concept
Okay.
from Dr. Gordon MacDonald
Okay.
about important, teachable, and draining people.
Oh, I like that framework.
It's a really practical way to look at the different types of relationships
Mhm.
we have in our lives.
Right. And how they impact us.
So let's break that down a little bit.
Okay.
Who are the important people in our lives?
Well, they're the ones we have that deep connection with,
Okay.
build on trust and respect.
Yeah, it's like a two-way street.
It is.
You're invested in their well-being and they're invested in yours.
Totally. They're your cheerleaders, your confidants.
They're the people who show up for you no matter what.
Yeah. And then there are the teachable people,
Oh, yeah.
the ones who look to you for guidance and inspiration.
Right. Maybe you've walked a similar path,
Mm-hmm.
or they just see something in you that they want to learn from.
It's a beautiful thing to be able to share your wisdom and experience.
I agree. It's like paying it forward.
Yeah. And we all have something valuable to offer.
And it's so rewarding to see those seeds you plant take root and grow.
It is.
But we can't forget about the draining people.
Oh, yeah. We all have them.
Those relationships that just zap your energy,
Mm-hmm.
leaving you feeling depleted and discouraged.
Could be someone who's always complaining.
Right. Or always focusing on the negative.
Or just resistant to growth and change.
And it's important to recognize that these relationships exist.
Yeah.
And it's okay to set boundaries.
You have to protect your own well-being.
Right. It doesn't mean you don't care about them,
Exactly.
but it means prioritizing your own emotional health.
Sometimes those boundaries might mean having some tough conversations,
Yeah.
addressing those draining behaviors head on.
And those conversations aren't always easy.
No, they're not, but even challenging relationships can change.
They can. And they actually reference this book
Okay.
called Caring Enough to Confront by David Augsburger,
Interesting.
which explores how honest and compassionate communication
Mm-hmm.
can sometimes turn a draining relationship into something more positive.
Like turning a lump of coal into a diamond.
It takes effort,
Mm.
but the results can be amazing.
And speaking of amazing, they share this inspiring story about Tim Jacobson,
Okay.
who embodies this idea of purposeful relationships.
I like that.
He approaches every interaction with intentionality,
Mm-hmm.
believing that relationships are divinely orchestrated
Wow.
to connect us for a reason.
And his work is a testament to that belief.
It is from serving as a missionary in Ethiopia
Wow.
to leading initiatives that foster leadership and education.
He's really making a difference.
He is, and it's all about those deep, meaningful connections.
And Tim's story actually connects to Bob Boudin's concept of a people inventory,
Oh, interesting.
which is all about taking stock of the people in your life
Mm-hmm.
and being intentional about who you invest your time and energy in.
It's like spring cleaning for your relationships.
Let go of the ones that no longer serve you
Right.
and make space for the ones that nourish you.
Boudin even suggests following Jesus's example
Okay.
of having a closer circle of relationships.
Those who are really in your corner.
Exactly. And they share the statistic that 85% of jobs are found through referrals.
Really?
Just goes to show how important those connections are.
It's not just about who you know. It's about who you know.
Right, but it's not just about networking, it's about cultivating those genuine supportive relationships.
What? And they also talk about effective communication,
Oh, yeah.
reminding us that how we communicate
Yeah,
is often more important than what we say.
so true.
And they introduce this concept of the 3 V's of communication.
The 3 V's.
Verbal, vocal, and visual.
Okay.
Our words are only one part of the equation.
Right, our tone of voice and body language matter too.
Yeah, think about how a simple phrase like, thank you,
Hmm.
can sound completely different
Right.
depending on your tone and facial expression.
It can be sincere or sarcastic.
Exactly. And in a world where we're constantly bombarded with information
Yeah,
and digital interactions,
that's true.
it's more important than ever to be mindful of how we're communicating.
Both online and offline.
Absolutely. And to bring it back to our faith,
Okay.
they highlight some insightful verses that speak to the value of relationships.
Like what?
Things like encouraging one another, bearing each other's burdens,
Right.
speaking the truth in love.
It's a reminder that our faith isn't a solo journey.
Yeah, it's something we experience in community with others.
So let me ask you,
Okay.
who are those MVPs in your life? Those most valuable people
Yeah.
who energize and inspire you? How can you prioritize those relationships? And on the flip side, what boundaries might you need to set
Wow.
with those relationships that tend to drain your energy?
These are really important questions to think about.
They are.
So are you ready to tackle the last circle in that Venn diagram?
Yeah, bring it on. It's a good idea to even just take a few minutes and write down what really matters to you in this next stage of life.
Yeah, like planting those seeds.
Right, and sometimes the smallest actions can lead to the biggest changes.
So true. And before we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
I want to go back to the main message of the chapter.
Yeah.
It's something that I've been thinking about.
Okay, what is it?
It's that reminder that it's never too late to live a life full of purpose
Yeah.
and vision and meaningful connections.
It's like a guiding light no matter what stage of life you're in.
It really is. And it made me realize that we need to embrace every part of the journey.
The ups and the downs.
Yeah. And see that each season has something unique to offer.
Absolutely.
So speaking of unique offerings,
Yeah.
they leave us with this question that's been on my mind.
I know what you're talking about.
It's a big one.
It is. But it gets to the core of everything we've been discussing.
Okay, what is it?
What legacy do you want to leave behind?
That's a powerful question.
It is. Take a moment to think about that.
It's not about fame or fortune.
Right.
It's about the impact we make on the world.
The lives we touch.
And I love that they remind us that each of us has something special to offer.
Yeah.
Our own unique blend of talents and strengths and experiences.
That can make a difference.
And it's never too late to start building that
Like
legacy.
you're too late.
Whether it's through our work or relationships or creativity.
Or even just simple acts of kindness. So as you go about your week, let that question guide you.
Yeah, what legacy will you leave behind?
And if this deep dive has sparked any ideas or insights,
Yeah.
we'd love to hear from you.
Please share your thoughts on social media.
And let's keep this conversation going.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey.
Until next time.
Keep seeking, keep growing, and keep living life to the fullest.